As I read further, I started smiling to myself. After all, it was absurd, and, in case you were wondering, blatantly false. My main connection with Bill Gates was some brief work I'd done with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on early childhood nutrition in Africa some years earlier. I've certainly never joined the ranks of the Illuminati, and even if I wanted to, I have no idea how one would do so. No COVID-19 vaccine had yet been approved, and I'd played no part in the effort to develop one. As for advising governments, I did do some of that, but my advice was limited to issues such as incentivizing adherence to pandemic restrictions and mask wearing, distributing financial aid more effectively, improving motivation for educators and students, and working to decrease domestic violence. I saw myself as someone who works tirelessly to make things better, yet here were many people comparing me to Joseph Goebbels, Adolf Hitler's devoted underling and chief Nazi propagandist. Could this be anything but a bad joke? Or perhaps just a bizarre misunderstanding? Surely no one would take this seriously. However, I followed the links deeper into the bowels of the internet, and it appeared that many people were taking it quite seriously indeed. Posts about me garnered thousands of comments. My evil twin appeared in clumsily edited videos, sometimes dressed in a Nazi uniform and always with despicable intentions. Online conference panels debated my character flaws and nefarious motives. There were calls for Nuremberg 2.0 trials to find me guilty and sentence me to public execution. After several hours of reading and watching videos, I no longer found it remotely funny. In fact, it was painful and confusing, especially when I later learned that the people who believed these lies about me were not only strangers, but included people who had previously studied and respected my work, and even some people who had known me personally for years. How could they have it all so wrong? Surely, I thought, if I could just have a conversation with them, they would realize their error and all this lunacy would end. Maybe they would even apologize. I saw that one of the discussion leaders, Sarah, had a phone number listed. She was the one calling for me to be put on trial. She was absolutely sure that once my crimes against humanity became public, I would be one of the first to be hung for everyone to watch, cheer, and celebrate. I decided to call her up and set the record straight. What could go wrong? Well, a lot, it turned out. It didn't go well, for reasons that are probably obvious to anyone who has spent even a few minutes considering the odds of convincing someone to change their mind via a surprise phone call. Only I wasn't thinking, I was deeply offended and emotional. After introducing myself, I told her that I wanted to set the record straight and that she was welcome to ask me anything she liked. Her first set of questions surprised me. She asked me about my views on what was going on. When I started talking about COVID-19, she stopped me immediately. No. What do you know about how COVID-19 fits with Agenda 21 and the globalists? I don't even know what Agenda 21 is, I responded, and I'm not sure which globalists you have in mind. Don't play innocent with me, she responded. I know who you are and what you do. Then she switched tracks and demanded to know what projects I was working on with different governments. At the time, I was working quite intensely on projects related to COVID-19, with the Israeli government and a bit with the British, Dutch, and Brazilian governments as well. In the face of Sarah's demanding questions, I felt as if I were on trial and she was the prosecutor. I told her that I was mostly working to try to get the police to use rewards to incentivize good mask-wearing behaviour and observance of social distancing, instead of using fines. I was also working on how to effectively carry out distance learning in schools and trying to figure out what financial support the government should give to those who were forced to shutter their businesses. Sarah did not buy any of it. Not for a minute. What about tearing families apart by telling grandchildren not to see their grandparents? What about increasing loneliness and stress leading to more deaths? What about forcing kids to wear masks that decrease the supply of oxygen to their brains? My feeble attempts to deny all these accusations had no effect. How do you explain the millions you were paid for your consulting services to different governments? She demanded. Here, in my naivety, I saw a glimmer of hope.